Hi, my name is Becky and I am the creative producer, whatever, of The Bright Side. And The Bright Side is a fictional trailer and it comes under the genre of romance, although it includes elements of social realism and a bit of drama mixed in due to the plotline. I'll be answering the A2 evaluation question, question 2, and that is, how effective was the combination of your media product and ancillary texts? So it's important to note that the purpose of my media product being a trailer and both my ancillary texts, the magazine front cover and the poster for my trailer, are both in order to promote my film. So, obviously being a student film and not actually even being a film, the whole promotions package is fictional but still functions as a real media product. So, by this I mean I'm still reaching out to a potential audience who would engage with my trailer, engage with my magazine front cover in order to buy the magazine, and engage with the poster, which then makes them want to find out more about the film and decide whether or not they want to go and watch it. Essentially, the magazine and the poster might make the target audience want to go watch the trailer, which then possibly, hopefully, will make them want to go watch the actual film. If this was a real big blockbuster movie, the whole promotions package would be much larger, on a much larger scale. So they would have posters, magazine covers, they'd have multiple of them. They would have adverts, a website. They would have. I have a Twitter page as part of my production and distribution. I said that I do have a Twitter page. That is true. I have a Twitter page at Brightside A2A2. So on that, I was updating my profile with information. I was linking to my last year's work as an example of synergy, whereas cross-media promotion. So yeah, just to create the hype and really just to, like a real media product would be, just reinforcing to an audience the whole time about what's going on and really just getting the target audience excited and enabling them to follow them. So there would be a lot of that, not just on Twitter, it would be across Facebook as well and Snapchat now. In addition to this, the celebrities would be doing photo shoots and that would all get promoted in the Vanity Fair magazine if it was a big US blockbuster film produced by one of the big six. So essentially my promotions package is on a much smaller scale, but it was still vital that I all worked together in order to promote to my small scale target audience. I researched magazine front covers and film posters and obviously trailers and deconstructed them all at the beginning before I even started thinking about my own product. How it would incorporate all this promotion and cross-media synergy to promote each other essentially. This really reinforced how mine worked together. I looked at Titanic, and Titanic is quite an old film now. It's a film that was released in 1998, and it's actually one of my favourite films. It's a romance, but it's also a historical reenactment drama because it is the story of the Titanic, the ship that sank. Because it was released in 1998, the way in which it was promoted was not as useful to me in reinforcing how I promoted my film, seeing as in 1998 they didn't exactly have loads and loads of digital technologies which all enabled ease of access pretty much at your fingertips. There was no Twitter or Facebook or Snapchat, at least not to the scale that it is now. There might have been a bit of MySpace, I'm not entirely sure when that was out, but there was nothing compared to what there is now. So essentially the promotion has changed over the course of my life, and I have definitely seen this growing up. So the trailers that you used to see in the cinema are now on YouTube. Everyone can see a trailer. There's IMDb. I can just see a poster of a film and just Google it on IMDb or YouTube and just watch the trailer and then be like, oh, I want to go see that. So that was not so useful in like informing the promotion of my film. However, it was re-released in 2012, but again, it's not the same principle because everyone knew about the film anyway. A lot of people have already seen it, and it was just, they were just re-releasing it because they knew that they would still attract a massive audience if it was re-released in 3D. The poster really did actually influence how my poster turned out. So both the characters are seen, I actually got this wrong when I recorded it. The two characters are actually above the ship in the upper third of the shot, and feathered out and blended in, as I said before. Therefore, there's actually two focal images. The focal image of obviously the actor and the actress, and the one of the ship. So that really did reinforce how my poster had the female protagonist in the sky, in the sunset, and feathered out the same way, but it doesn't really reinforce how it connected. Love, Rosie, however, is a modern, it was released in 2014, a social realism comedy romance. So it was really useful in looking at how it was promoted. However, to my knowledge, I didn't find a magazine front cover for it, which was less than useful. However, the way in which the trailer and the poster match up were really useful. So the titles of the trailer were the same colour and the same background as the first poster for Love, Rosie. So the way in which that works is really obvious, and you can just tell straight away that they belong together. They've got the same actor and actress as the trailer. The font was the same, a big bold block white in serif Arial type font. Yeah, so really plain, simple, and really eye-catching basically because of its simplicity. The second poster for Love, Rosie also had incorporated the elements of social realism, which was really useful in looking at how I could link the social realism in my trailer to the poster. And so the way in which they did that was they just had the two characters walking across a field, and it didn't actually look like a snapshot from the film because I have seen the film, and this scene was actually in the film, and they were just walking across a field. There's a lens flare which captured the beauty and really indicated that it was a romance. Something which I tried to do with the sunset, even though there wasn't a sunset in my actual trailer. In the film, if there was to be a film, there would be a sunset and things like this. Although maybe not as beautiful because due to the poster being enhanced and the colours being edited, it's still the fact that the beauty is captured the same way as on Love, Rosie, it's captured through the lens flare. The way in which Love, Rosie really captured the romance as well as the social realism, with the tree in the background and really just looking like a normal image of teenagers getting together, but just enhanced because it is a film and it's meant to be aspirational to the audience. That's how it influenced mine and how that connected with the trailer. So basically they shared the same purposes, to be inspiring to the audience and engage them, essentially, through the use of the same characters. I feel that with the trailer, there are a few close-up shots, there weren't too many of them, so it does encourage empathy from the audience and connection between the character and the audience. However, it's not to the extent where it's synthetic personalisation. It's not where the character is literally staring at the audience and talking at the audience. They're not breaking the fourth wall or anything like that. Therefore, this really influenced my magazine because the same can be said for the poster. There's no direct eye contact being made, no breaking the fourth wall. So in my magazine front cover, I decided to do this. This is how it works together with my poster and my trailer, where they might feel a bit passive to the audience. The audience just watch it and they don't engage actively by looking at each other. Whereas the magazine front cover, the male protagonist is looking directly at the audience and that really engages them. Synthetic personalisation by the use of eye contact, catching their eyes, they walk past them like busy streaks. A magazine front cover would be just seen like in the front of a shop, or just with loads and loads of other magazine front covers. I've actually seen the Empire film magazine front cover, just in Sainsbury's, and you walk past it, and if there is someone looking at you, like the character looking at you out straight off of the magazine, it does engage you as you walk past, and just look to the side and you might pick it up and look more at it. So this reinforces the conventions of magazine front covers, as well as working really well in breaking that fourth wall, which the other two products don't tend to do. It is notable to say that my magazine front cover, but especially my film poster, really don't match the colours that are shown in my film trailer. So they do, in a sense, where I did enhance the colour and the contrast between the colours in the first half of the trailer. A lot of the colours there were really enhanced, such as on top of the hill, where white was enhanced, and at the canal, all enhanced and really bringing out the colour. So in a way, the sunset of my poster being enhanced and all the colours really bright and standing out, they do match. However, a lot of the trailer wasn't enhanced, and a lot of it was actually quite grey, and in some areas, such as the hospital scene and the scene of him running through the snow, it was really actually dulled down. I turned down the brightness a bit. So I just made it really grey, basically. It does match in a way, but I wasn't sure with it matching to the extent that it works really well and you can instantly tell that they're the same poster, because otherwise, apart from the font and the characters, I feel like possibly you wouldn't be able to tell. However, it works because a poster is there to catch the eye and just like wow the audience. They want to go find out more about the trailer, more about the film, and essentially go watch it. So it does work and it doesn't. I wasn't really sure about how that would work very well. But as individual products, they work really well, I believe. But together, I'm not sure. It is notable to mention, however, it works in my film because the characters, what they're wearing in the magazine front cover, are what they are wearing in the trailer. So the red dress, even though only on the screen for like a tiny snippet of a second, she is wearing the red dress, and that is really useful in immediately capturing the scene. The red dress is obviously symbolic, sexual connotations of romance, of love, vulnerability, but also danger. Lots of connotations mixed in there that I really wanted to reinforce conventions of romance. This goes to the same for in the poster, where the female in the sky is wearing the same hoodie with the same hair. This was actually taken on the same day as filming at the beach, and she's just really looking out into the waves with her hair blowing behind her, and that really reinforces, because you can straight away see where she is and what's happening really. Another convention that was carried over into the poster was the prop, which was the camera. And because the female is like essentially obsessed with her camera, there's all things like that. That is actually hanging on the tree. It's hard to see because it's really small, but I thought that was a nice little detail, a little mise-en-scène detail that I put in, and really connects it straight to the characterization of her, and immediate relationship between the camera and her carried over from the film. Again, back to the colour. In the magazine front cover and the poster, I really wanted to connect the colours there with the purple, the pinkies, the reds and the yellow. However, this didn't really work so well, so I did use a bit of blue in the poster and the magazine, and the yellow with a bit of pink, and there was a bit of red. However, it wasn't in the same way as it was in my drafts. In my drafts I had shading around the edges, which was basically made up of blue and red, which then made a little bit of purple in there as well, with a little bit of pink. I really like this, however, it didn't really work so well with when I looked back at the conventions of magazines. And after talking to my focus group, that we all decided that in order for it to actually come across as a real conventional, real media product, the shading wasn't really going to work, and a block colour was much better. So with the use of the blue, the yellow and the pink, the colours do match, and it does work, I think. But it doesn't, it's not, the immediate resemblance isn't there. However, with the use of the characters and the slight use of the same colours, I think it does work together, and they do link with side by side. The low-key minimalistic font also really worked really well, with the font just being carried straight over from the film, then the poster, and then the magazine. However, in the film poster and the film magazine, with the side on its side, this was not in the film and in the film trailer, and I don't actually like this, and I did try and put it in, but it didn't work with how I'd already set out the film trailer, the title. So that doesn't work together so well. However, I did ensure that I was using the exact same font and similar size, so that worked a bit better. However, the bright side on the Empire magazine front cover, it put side by side with the one on the poster, was a lot smaller, and that's in order for, even though Empire is a really established brand with enough confidence to have the characters over the top of the logo, it was important that the Empire stood out and the bright side was a little bit smaller, so that you could tell a difference between the logo, the masthead and the banner. Poster gave a sort of a more specific genre, romance feel to it. The magazine front cover was not so much, where the characters look at each other, but it looks more tense. There looks like there's a bit of a barrier between them, with the gritted teeth of both of them and the male looking up to the audience whilst the female looks up to him. In that way, I was really trying to widen to attract the maximum audience that I could with the magazine front cover, by just having that visual engagement and that celebrity endorsement, which obviously, being a student film and casting my sister and her boyfriend, obviously isn't actually celebrity endorsement. However, if this was a real media product, there would be famous actresses and actors, if it was a big blockbuster film, say, and the celebrity endorsement would immediately be there by the eye contact. Furthermore, obviously, the use of the other celebrities and the other films, which is essentially saying that the contents would include, that again is in celebrity endorsement in order to maximise the target audience. So draw the target audience into some of the contents, as well as, and just really bring it all together, like synergy, cross-media promotion across loads of different mediums because of the social media links which were incorporated into it, the cross-media promotion with all of the films and all of the different features that it was really promoting. I had the same billing book, because obviously it's the same people involved, even though they were made up names. It's the same people involved. So that billing book was carried over from my poster to my trailer, both conventional to have a billing book, which I noticed from Love Rosie also has a billing book. The use of the extreme long establishing shot was also really linked to my trailer, where there was a lot of establishing shots showing the beauty of the different locations and showing what was going on, where they were, establishing where they were, and inspiring an audience and being aspirational to them. Use the medium profile shot, again, really working with my trailer, in that there was a lot of medium profile shots, just for practicality, showing the characters as they discuss, and having the audience at a slight distance but still involved in the conversation, if that makes any sense. In retrospect, I would have liked to include the same social media links that I actually used for my blog at the Brightside A2A2, which is a Twitter account that I made. And I would have liked to include that on my magazine front cover, as well as my poster. However, I don't think it really draws away from the fact that it's a magazine front cover. Normally this would probably actually be inside in the contents. However, it would have been a nice thought for it to be linked on social media, and all of that to be linked together and really promoted the social media platform on the magazine front cover. When it comes to how the audience know that the products are linked, it is vital to ensure the financial success of the film. Obviously through practicality, if they see the film poster and then they look at what the film is about and they look at the film and see the film poster and everything like that. Also incorporating the theory of uses and gratifications, where the audience see a film poster and they think that might gratify their needs, therefore engaging them to watch the real film product. This was a vital influence on my decision making as well, due to my focus group survey and my focus group feedbacks the whole way along as well, just to see what needs I was gratifying, what needs they wanted, what they liked, disliked, to really widen my target audience, but also gratify the needs of specific demographics within there. Incorporating the hypodermic syringe theory into this also, my audience were engaged through surveys on Facebook and through my Twitter account, and on big blockbuster films would also be through other mediums such as Snapchat. I was able to really look at what they wanted from a film, and through these they were able to look at my film across its production and see how all of the things were linked with the characters, the actors, and the colours, and which is obviously a visual link immediately to the magazine cover and the poster. Another thing I do regret about it though is that I didn't make a logo. So I would have loved to incorporate even the logo from the trailer into my magazine front cover and my poster. However, I didn't actually intend to make this into a logo. This was just a font that I found on Final Cut Pro. A really simple, a really simple title. It's just called The Stamp, and I use this in one of my, in my rough cut, and everyone in my focus group really liked it. And I didn't really want to incorporate this into my magazine front cover or my poster because I thought it would really draw away from the rest of the image and the rest of the magazine front cover. It would be really difficult to have the stamp to the size that it would show my actual title in large enough in order for this to be the focal point, the ultimate banner of the entire poster in the magazine front cover. Therefore, I couldn't really use it as a logo for both of them. So I would have liked to create a more practical logo that I could have used across the film promotions package. However, this was not possible given what my focus group really wanted, and I didn't want to take that away either, because ultimately attracting my target audience was the main focus. So how effective was the promotion of and the link between my ancillary text and my main product? I believe it was quite effective, however could have gone that little bit further to make sure that the link was very clear to the audience and they would immediately see a poster, and if they had already seen the magazine front cover or seen the trailer and already seen the poster, they would immediately draw that connection between the two. Not just reliant on the characters, but reliant on many other things such as a logo. However, I do believe that by the use of the characters being in both of them being across the whole media product, the colours being drawn in from the poster to the magazine front cover, and the use of the costuming, the mise-en-scène, all of this all really contributed to the fact that it does clearly show a link between the two, between the three of them, and between how it works together to reinforce and challenge conventions of magazine front covers, posters and trailers, while still showing a clear link and still being a cohesive promotions package for an audience to follow, be engaged by, and hopefully watch my film.